Well, hello everybody. Our government shut down on October the 1st, and we continue to experience the effects of a shutdown. To be clear, our office is open. You see our team right here. We are actively assisting constituents with casework. We're answering questions about the shutdown. We're sharing as much information as possible, sharing vital resources with the public. We're doing everything humanly possible to remain transparent in this process, and above all, to put the families, the hardworking families of Eastern North Carolina first. Yesterday, I visited Pine Tops and met with the police chief there as we were talking about issues impacting the town. I also spoke with Granville County officials about needs of the airport. And along the way, helped a person with a passport. And I want to emphasize this, that services are still taking place, and residents should continue to reach out to us. We're open and we're here to serve. But most importantly, what I've done during this time is listen to constituents of the 1st Congressional District. I've taken the time to hear out constituents, to meet them where they are, as there are many concerns about the shutdown. And what I would like to do is broadly place the concerns that I've heard into 3 major categories. The first, we've heard quite a bit of concerns about Social Security. I've heard a lot of concerns about illegal immigrants and those who are in the United States illegally receiving taxpayer-funded health care. And I've also heard a very loud voice who've shared concerns, those who are on the marketplace, of making sure that we protect health care, because with the hikes, it would put health care out of reach of some of the people here in Eastern North Carolina. So I want to deal and move through these major categories. First, with Social Security, many seniors rely on Social Security, and they've reached out to us to ensure the government shutdown is not impacting their Social Security payments. So what I'm asking, especially of our media that's here today, our outlets, please help us to continue to get the word out, especially around Social Security, because that's where we're getting a lot of volume of calls in particular, to help them understand that if they're receiving payments, they'll continue to receive those payments. I'm asking for your help with that. However, I would like to also point out, as we're talking about Social Security, that the Social Security Administration has furloughed nearly 6,000 federal employees. What does that mean? That means that there still may be delays. Delays in particular with new applicants who are coming through the process, those who may be going through an appeals process. Those cases may be delayed, as well as those who may just simply need a replacement to the Social Security card. Processing overpayments and making corrections and updates to the earnings records. There may be some delays here. Another thing that I would raise, because it's become a matter of tradition, that we tend to mid-October hear about the cost of living adjustment that's forthcoming for the next year with Social Security. What's happening right now because of furloughs in the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is the area that actually collects, processes, and they publish the necessary data to get to the COLA. Because of those furloughs, there's right now a pause on when the announcement will be made surrounding the COLA for next year for those who are on Social Security. After the shutdown ends, the Bureau will resume operations and publish this information. Let's move then to the next bucket, the next category. And that's dealing with illegal immigrants and those who are in the United States illegally receiving taxpayer-funded health care. I will be clear, make it perfectly clear. We have heard many, many concerns about this that's coming from constituents. And this is perhaps the point of a major contention if you're following the issues that's before the American people. Some are saying, hey, this is not happening. Others are bringing forth and saying this is happening, especially around emergency services and so forth. I just want to be clear, and I believe the American people and the people in Eastern North Carolina need clarity on this, and I fully understand these concerns. I share the concerns, and I believe that this becomes a major issue that we can actually come together and get to an agreement. What I mean, any deal moving forward, I just simply believe that we should make clear that no illegal immigrant or anyone that's illegally in the United States should receive taxpayer-funded health care. If, again, the argument is it's not happening, then let's just make sure we're able to clarify this in any deal that moves forward. But let me also equally say, as we talk about any deals moving forward, there are also concerns. Is a deal going to be a deal? In other words, we've seen the use of rescissions and impoundment measures taken. So I believe equally there needs to be clarity that a deal is a deal of whatever comes out of this, that we are going to stick with the deal. There's not going to be any efforts taken that could be taken to undermine any deal, therefore clarifying in any language that rescissions and impoundment provisions would not be taken to undermine the deal. So I think there are points right in here in which we need to come to an agreement in a deal. Moving on to health care. Many hard-working families in Eastern North Carolina are reaching out to us. These are American citizens who are reaching out to us out of concern about their health care. We see right here these letters that have gone out. Information that's been transmitted from healthcare providers. And you can see what it says right here. How it may affect you. Some people will still get financial help, but not as much. Others may no longer qualify for help at all. Many will see their monthly costs go up when they renew their plan for 2026. People are getting these letters. Matter of fact, this came from a constituent. And I want to take some time and really explain this issue here. Numerous residents have expressed concerns, and these are individuals who are currently on the marketplace. These are small business owners. These are our neighbors, people that we know, hardworking, ordinary people across the East. One resident said to me, quote, I need my health care. I use healthcare.gov as a single mother and hairstylist. I'm not a billionaire. I need my insurance. Neither Congress nor the White House is on our side at this point. It does not seem like it. I got a letter saying my insurance might be affected in December, unquote. Another resident said, quote, my health care premiums would increase by $200 per month. So I support you ensuring that we have our health care coverage, unquote. These are just a reflection of the many comments that are coming into our office right now, the concerns that are being conveyed. Under the continuing resolution HR 5371 that passed the House and has been moving, and it's over in the Senate right now, that's been held up, I want to make clear what is at the root of this issue. So that continuing resolution would continue to operate the government through November the 21st. The 21st. But open enrollment begins on November the 1st. So there would be perhaps a lot of uncertainty when now this open enrollment period ends. So I believe it is important for Congress to act now so that we can, with everyday, ordinary, hardworking Eastern North Carolinians, they can have certainty about health care. And not only that, we can avoid major hikes. And one thing I would add, when we deal with this topic, is it would disproportionately have a much greater impact on rural communities. And by the way, the 1st Congressional District, 22 counties, all are deemed rural. Every single one. I'm convinced that a resolution can be reached with goodwill and a desire to put the American people first. But I must admit that there are also other issues we're dealing with in the midst of all of this shutdown. Congress must also extend the Community Health Center Fund. Community health centers are providing critical health care to some of our most vulnerable residents in the East. Often our community health centers rely so much, this makes up the majority of their budgets. These are essential funds that must be extended. We must also reauthorize the National Flood Insurance Program, which, by the way, expired on September the 30th. Why is that so important? You know as well as I do, we're still in the midst of hurricane season right here. We tend to see our fair share in the East. The National Flood Insurance Program is the nation's largest residential flood insurance program. In North Carolina's 1st District, there's an estimated 11,614 policies that are in force under the National Flood Insurance Program, representing roughly $3.2 billion in value. Many of the communities across Eastern North Carolina are rural, as I've pointed out, and lower income, relying even more so on the National Flood Insurance Program. And this is so important when we talk about the importance of housing, a place that people are able to call home. I mean, it's the National Flood Insurance Program that plays a major role in this. And when now it expires, here's the impact. Lenders are unable to close federally backed mortgages. This is FHA, VA, USDA, and these are in FEMA designated flood zones. Title companies, underwriters who are beginning to now, we are seeing pauses and transitions in flood-prone areas. And also sellers are at risk. They're at risk of potentially losing deposits and also the interest rates that are locked in. Because of that, I sent a letter to both Speaker Johnson and Minority Leader Jeffries, really emphasizing that this must come out of any deal. We have to make sure that we reauthorize the National Flood Insurance Program. And that is so important for Eastern North Carolina. Now, yesterday, we began to hear reports that President Trump was open to some sort of deals. I'm not sure what that necessarily encompasses at this point, but I would support President Trump's involvement in helping us to get through this shutdown. I believe we need all hands on deck to get through this shutdown. And I understand that President Trump likes making deals. Well, the American people need a deal right now, and especially those in rural communities that rely on health care. I believe there's a deal to be made. The framework of that would include clarity around illegal immigrants and those who are legally in the country. Let's bring clarity there. Let's bring clarity around rescissions and impoundment provisions, how we've seen them used. Let's bring clarity around the enhanced ACA premium tax credits. I believe there are alternatives that's been part of conversations, even conversations about the potential of putting a cap, income cap on the ACA premium tax credits of about $200,000. I believe we should have those meaningful alternatives on the table, and let's give full consideration to them. At the same time, I believe we should move towards a model in which we are committing for those who are on the marketplace, making a real commitment, to these families. We have to, when we talk about this framework, as I mentioned earlier, we have to address our community health center fund. We must address our national flood insurance program. These are some of the fundamentals of what I believe will begin to frame a deal. But my broader message today to the families of Eastern North Carolina: we're listening to you. We're working for you. That's the broader message. We're going to, during these times, lead with compassion and lead with passion. We're here in Goldsboro, the home of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. We also have U.S. Coast Guard Elizabeth City. We're asking men and women to put on their uniforms right now, to go to work, to keep the American people safe, without the certainty of when they're going to get the next paycheck right now. I would say to them, thank you for your service and your dedication to our country. And that comes from a person who's worn the uniform. And having worn the uniform as an airman serving in our Air Force, that's why, too, as a member of Congress, I felt compelled to make sure that I'm not receiving pay if they're not receiving pay. When they receive pay, then guess what? Then their congressmen, will begin to receive pay. That's the minimum. That's the minimum that I believe that we should do. Lead with compassion and fight passionately here. I would also say to these families that we are in constant communication. We have different staff members here. We have our military liaison here. And these are steps that we're taking. We've been in communication with support our troops which is actually in Aden. It's a great resource for our military families. Barbara Whitehead, I've known her for some time. She's the fierce leader of Support Our Troops, and they're constantly updating and trying to get information out for our military families. They have worked on packaging nearly 4,000 hygiene kits to get out. She shared information such as the star cards that active duty families are able to use even at the commissary. That's like the local grocery store, that they're offering those at zero interest. The USAA and Navy Federal Credit Union, they're offering interest-free loans. Support Our Troops. They're working with various community partners to deliver diapers, food boxes, to make referrals to other agencies. I would say to the families, reach out to us. We're here to help make the connections. They're helping to connect families with Operation Homefront, which is administering the Critical Financial Assistance Program. And I would say to military families, reach out. Go to our troops, Support Our Troops, to the Facebook page. Reach out to our office. We want to do everything we can to make sure that we're taking care of our families. My aim is to end the shutdown and to address the concerns that I've heard from the families of Eastern North Carolina. I encourage residents to call our office, 202-225-3101, 202-225-3101. We want to hear from you. We want to help, and we want to make sure we're doing everything to connect you with resources. While we're here, I encourage residents to not only reach out to our office, go to our website. We've opened a portal, government shutdown portal, and we're reaching out and asking residents to share their stories. We need to put the real faces behind all these conversations. These are real people. And I'm encouraging residents to go to our website, share your story with us, share your worries, share your concerns. We're here to listen to you. While we must address the government shutdown, I'm going to add a few things while we're here. Congress must also work quickly to address some other matters. We must come back to the table and to begin to look at our slow job growth. And that's really important when we talk about Eastern North Carolina. Trade policies that are hurting, in particular, soybean farmers, flu-cured tobacco growers, pork producers, and others. And there are others, corn, cotton. There's been much conversations taking place about assistance. There's been proposals and ideas thrown out about potentially using revenues from the tariffs. What I can say, our farmers, before the shutdown, they were already hurting. We've gone through quite a bit of disasters here in this state. Out west, Helene, drought in the east, rise in labor costs, rise in input costs. Farmers on wit's end. And we have to make sure that we are connecting and that we're allowing our farmers to do what they enjoy best. And I believe if you talk to most farmers, they'll say, all I want to do, I want to do my part to feed the American people, to clothe the American people, to fuel the American people. I want to do my part. That's all they want to do. And I'm saying this to say, we should not and must not, even as we move forward with assistance, leave farmers behind. And I have great concerns, in particular our tobacco farmers. And we have the largest production of tobacco in the 1st Congressional District in eastern North Carolina, greater than any place in this nation. We can't leave these families behind, y'all, because of something that they have no control over, called the retaliatory tariff. Can't leave them behind because of retaliatory tariffs. I would also add to my list here, let's get the government up and running so we can get to a farm bill. So many policies that's been left behind. We need to pass a farm bill. We need a disaster assistance package. I mean, the governor came and met with the North Carolina delegation, sharing the need for another $13.5 billion. There are families that are still trying to put the pieces back together out west. We're speaking up for those families as well. I'm convinced again that we can get there, where there's goodwill, and a desire to put our families first. I truly believe we can and we will get there. And my attempt is to get there with great compassion. Glad to answer your questions.
Heidi with WRAL.
Hey, Heidi.
You mentioned soybean farmers. We just had a chance to meet with some down the road that are really hurting. Can you outline specifically the steps that you were taking to get them some sort of relief?
Absolutely. We're glad to share the letter that we've sent out, advocating to make sure that we're able to get some funds out the door to help. But as I was saying before, we don't want to either leave like tobacco growers behind either. I mean, you have a lot of farmers who have just been getting it taken to them, and to take a market from under their feet. I'm going to express it the way a farmer said to me, as using their unique voice. They said, "Congressman, we went through this before. We can't keep doing this. We're not going to keep taking it on the chin." I mean, if we're going to help farmers continue to operate, you can't just keep running off of debt. It catches up. And often when we even talk about trying to help, to be clear, we're not necessarily always talking about making farmers whole. So I believe it's highly important. And that's why we have joined forces, and we'll share all that communication with you in support of not only our soybean, but tobacco and other farmers out there.
Sam Beecher, Goldsboro Newsroom.
Yes,
I was just at an event called Ag Breakfast, Maxwell Center. They were just talking about a lot of the stuff that you just talked about, how need for farm bill, to help out farmers because costs getting high, revenue coming back, not as much. And with some assistance programs trying to help out with the drought and with disaster relief, a lot of that's being on hold because of the shutdown. So, and this is not just regular folks from like farmers saying that. We're talking NC Farm Bureau, Ashley Thomas, coming to that event and talking about that. So when I tell you that, what do you think?
We need to ag community to continue to speak loudly, share the concerns, not just with me. I'm listening to these concerns. That's what we're here, to speak up, for the people of Eastern North Carolina, what we're hearing. Whether it's agriculture, whether it's dealing with housing, whether it's dealing with health care, these are the issues I'm hearing about. So my message to our agriculture community, um, we're together. Let's continue to speak up to make sure that everyone hears and understands that we need to be there for you because this now we're at a point, a breaking point. Do you keep an operation open or not? And we want to obviously help keep our farm operations open. I think that's needed for not only Eastern North Carolina's economy, but for the greater good of the American people. So, she was right. I saw you first.
We'll get them.
Christine Zhu, NC Newsline. This has been a very partisan shutdown, and you are in the most competitive seat in the state for the House. The GOP has issued many ads and campaigns targeting you. How long are you planning to vote with your party and your caucus in the shutdown negotiations?
If you've heard me, and thank you so much for being here, everything I'm talking about is about putting the families of Eastern North Carolina first. We're going to put the families of Eastern North Carolina first. We'll let politics unfold how they unfold, but my focus is on helping the families of Eastern North Carolina, helping them to navigate a shutdown, ideally helping to bring us out of a shutdown with these vital things that so many are expressing concerns over. I mean, we should be able to clarify that illegal immigrants and those who are illegally in the U.S. Will not receive taxpayer-funded health care. We should be able then to provide health care to the Americans who are here, that we know these are our neighbors and our friends who are expressing grave concerns right now. We should be able to take care of our farmers. I mean, this is at a critical point. I mean, a major critical point. And we can't just take this lightly. This is everything I've been talking about, everything we've been working on, and everything I'll continue to work on and fight for our families. I want them to know they have a champion in Don Davis. And guess what? The politics will take care of itself at the end of the day, the way it unfolds. Thank you for that.
Olivia with WCTI. Should this issue of continuing premium tax credits be a separate issue from the CR at this point so we can get the government back open, or what are your thoughts on
I believe you're dealing with a timing issue, and that's what I outlined before. I believe that families are better off and we're better able to serve families by making a decision sooner so that they can actually understand what they're facing when they go to the dinner table. Around here, there's something very basic, their health care. And keep in mind, we're talking about people who are actually paying into the healthcare system. I believe we can give them answers. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't be able to do that.
Chris Young, WCTI. You mentioned deals being necessary to end this shutdown, but for you specifically, what is a compromise that would have your support?
The framework, as I've outlined, I would love to see clarity around illegal immigrants and those who are legally in the U.S. To make that clear in a deal. I would also equally like to see clarity that a deal is a deal, that wherever it lands, there are not going to be efforts to undo it through revisions or impoundment measures. I believe we can get to some clarity around health so families can make decisions as open enrollment begins. I'm open towards alternatives. Looking at, for instance, putting a cap, income salary cap on the ACA premium tax credit, $200,000. There are other potential ideas that may be out there. Let's bring them forth, put them on the table. And then we have to get to national flood insurance. We have to take care of our community health centers. Oh, Sam?
Yeah. You mentioned something about President Trump doing, deals being talked about, ideas. Can you elaborate further on that? Like anything that's been kind of like thrown around?
There was nothing specific. It was something that we began to see reports last night. I would ask you to just go back and take a look at it. But fundamentally, I don't know what it means, nor any material matters that would frame a deal.
Yeah, because this thing's been in the Senate like multiple times. It's 19th and 30th of September, and then you go into October, and just yesterday it was failed again.
Mhm.
So what's it gonna take to find compromise now?
Well, it's gonna take us actually being in DC. I mean, I'm just being candid, we're here in North Carolina, but I'm talking to residents doing the work. But we were supposed to be in DC, votes were taken down. So we're here with constituents now. We need to be in Washington DC doing the work of the people. I mean, we can't take a vote in Eastern North Carolina as much as I love Eastern North Carolina. I mean, this is for once I'm saying, let me go to DC. Normally I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get back to the East. But we'll do what we need to do. We're on standby. We're ready to go at any time, and continue to engage in conversations that would frame a deal.
With such a sizable military population in the state and in your district, how are military people not receiving pay and veterans not receiving benefits? How does that impact the local economy?
I mean, obviously, when the money's not going through the economy, there would be indirect impact. Eventually, when you come out of the shutdown, those funds would be back available. However, I mean, I would acknowledge you are, temporarily taking money from circulating during the economy. And we know the challenges already with Eastern North Carolina's economy. So, obviously, let's get the government up and running again. That's my commitment. That's it. All right. Thanks so much, y'all.